This podcast is intended for mature audiences and is not considered appropriate for enjoyment in the workplace.
You can stop the search for something intellectual and fulfilling. You've tuned into the Diary of a Bald Man, and there is no going back. Let the moaning, groaning, and bitching begin in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Listening to this podcast is cheaper than therapy, but also a shit ton less professional. Expect unfiltered opinions, safety rants, and the occasional heartfelt reminder you're not as mentally inadequate as you think. Well, probably. Did you know, when we're angry, our brain actually becomes less effective at reasoning? During moments of intense emotion, the part of the brain responsible for judgment, empathy, and problem-solving becomes less active, while the brain's threat detection system takes over. In simple terms, your ears still work, but your understanding doesn't. That's why people often say things like, "I didn't mean that." They may not have meant it. But in that moment, their brain wasn't looking for understanding. It was looking for survival. Sometimes the strongest thing you can say isn't another sentence. It's, "Let's take a few minutes and come back to this." Now, let's return to Allen Woffard and the Diary of a Bald Man.
Hey, welcome to the show. This is Allen Woffard, and you are listening to the Diary of a Bald Man. So I have a question for you before I start my rambling. How many of you have ever heard the term, leave it at the gate? Have you heard it or heard something similar? In construction, we say that, hey, leave this at the gate. Don't bring your home life into the field. And then when you leave the field where it's at, and don't take it into your home life. We say these things because there are times when our mindset, because of the environment, the kids were crying, the wife needed extra money we just didn't have, the car needs worked on, things of that nature. And then when we get to work, we're like, I've got to get more overtime. I've got to get more time in here. I've got to do this. I've got to do that. And instead of focusing on our craft or our profession, we're thinking about remnant material ideas that we had when we left home. And sometimes that helps to drive you to do better, but other times it generally distracts you. And let me tell you, I had that kind of week today. Not because I had a bad environment, and not because I brought shit home. I forgot when I came inside the house and when I left the job site, leave those stresses and things where they were at. You deal with them when you return. Whether you work out some kind of plan, do a PowerPoint, talk with your partners, your coworkers, your superintendents and team leaders, you want to leave things that, most people drag home with them because on our drive back, we're like, shit, did I remove my lock from the lotto? Or as I've seen 100 times with others, hey, can you check my toolbox and make sure I locked it? I can't remember if I put my battery packs on the charger, little things like that. And so the environment does get to a lot of us, and then we're thinking about it when we get home and fail to recognize the things at home that need to be taken care of. Well, I fucked up. I did that this week. I had some shit going on. Nothing bad, it's just work. Work and life just gets in the way of what we're looking at because it's still in the back of our head. And we can't see the trees or the flowers or the forest. It's just that gray matter keeps pulling up images of steel, concrete, mud, things of that nature, and we don't appreciate what we're seeing now that we're outside the fence. So as we get into this episode, I want you to think about your personal environments. What are you doing to stay focused on what's in front of you and not bring up things that's behind you? Or what you believe to be what you truly see when you're on a different level altogether. And when we get back, I will tell you about my fuck up for the week. Something that helped me to remember and realize why I'm working hard, why I'm doing the things I do, and what else is brought into it that makes it even better. So here's a Did You Know moment from Sophie, and we'll be back in just a second. Don't go away.
Did you know? Research has shown that successful long-term couples don't necessarily argue less than unsuccessful couples. The difference isn't the number of disagreements, it's how they repair them. The healthiest relationships aren't built by never making mistakes. They're built by recognizing those mistakes, taking responsibility, listening to understand, and making genuine attempts to reconnect afterward. A sincere, "I was wrong," or "help me understand what you're feeling," can be far more powerful than winning an argument. Because relationships aren't scored like ball games. There are no trophies for proving your partner wrong. The real victory is walking away feeling heard, respected, and still on the same team. Now let's turn it back over to Allen and get this show on the road.
Hey everybody, welcome back. And again, this is Allen Woffard, and you're listening to Diary of a Bald Man. Before we finish getting into the episode of Who Built the Castle, let me give a little gratitude and thanks to those that are listening. So while we do have most of the listeners to be males of my age range in the 40s to 50s, late 50s, there has been an increase in females as well. And I noticed with some of the emails, the gratitude that some of the females put towards my one man a minute, because where they personally feel and concerned about, the men in their life, their fathers, brothers, things like that. And they've reshared quite a bit of the little videos or things from TikTok, onto their timelines because of men that they really can't communicate with for various reasons. Like one of them stated, I didn't want my husband to think I'm reaching out to my friends, and sending them things, just checking on, because just the worry, of thinking I'm cheating or doing something like that. Nothing nefarious. So they'd send it to their husbands and say, hey, I saw this. You got male friends that have some issues going on, and sharing it like that. So again, it's a balance of men and women that help make this show grow, and we have really grown. A lot of you have helped with the one man a minute, and thank you for that. If you're not familiar with it, please go to the website and take a look. So, since you stayed with me this long, let's finish out the episode and tell you how I fucked up. So, today's episode wasn't planned, and actually I'd hoped I'd never have to record anything like it, because where we're sharing experiences, some things you hope that others don't have to go through, just like the one man a minute, suicide, homelessness, things of that nature, old or mature parents that we're looking after because they cannot function anymore. But I needed to, because today's episode started with something that isn't easy to admit. I almost lost sight of what matters most, my wife. Now remember, I was talking about leaving it at the gate, leaving what you think at the gate, leaving your stuff at home. And I wasn't talking about losing my wife because someone cheated or because we stopped loving one another, not because of money. I almost lost sight of it because my emotions convinced me that I had to protect what was mine. I had an outbreak. And for a few moments, I completely forgot about what was ours. Yeah, I fucked up. Now, over the years, I've spent a lot of time talking about communication, developing communication, reaching out to others, reaching out to your leadership, about safety, mental health, building new relationships to help you get past some of the hard times. But I forgot the biggest lessons I ever learned. Stress doesn't create character. Stress reveals it. And when life piles up, work, bills, responsibilities, lately fatigue for a lot of us, sometimes our brain stops thinking like a teammate, right? It's all about me. And that's what I did this week in the beginning. I thought all about me. I thought about the others by trying to help with like laundry, maybe making breakfast, doing spot checks, texting, hey honey, how are you doing? Little things like that. But again, sometimes the brain stops thinking like a teammate and goes into self-serving mode. And it did with me. It started to think like it was under attack, and that's exactly where I found myself. Something was said, the conversation, and something, a trigger word, and that's the thing you have to realize, like I did. What is something that you jump on when that when that finger goes bang. Stop. And instead of stopping, my emotions took over. I slammed the fucking table right in front of me. I raised my voice. I was yelling. Because that trigger word, sometimes our emotions, we're blocking out the conversation. We're listening to respond instead of listening to participate. And I did that. And my entire focus ended up becoming a conversation instead of understanding it. I wasn't listening anymore. I was putting out what I wanted, what I demanded, and what I thought to be true. I was simply waiting for my turn to defend myself in the conversation. Have you ever done that? Have you ever went and simply had to defend yourself and say, I did it because of this, you're wrong because I was doing this for you? And I've done that before. I've said, I do this, you don't do that. But see, we forget at times to think about the level of gratitude and love because not everything's financial. Not everything can be physical. There are some people that are just like, the way I show my love is to touch you. The way I show my love is to make the bed and clean up behind, and do little things like that. But your partner communicates in a completely different way. So think about it. Have you ever done that? I've done this. You don't do anything. Well, I did. But then you're not really listening. You're building your rebuttal, waiting for your opening statement, trying to win, trying to just take over the conversation and dominate it in 100%. But then something happened during this conversation. My wife and partner looked at me basically and said nothing. Just a silent, firm stare. And while she filled my actions and statements into her mental hard drive, I could tell the conversation was done. Everything slowed down. Because I realized at that moment I had been keeping score. I had convinced myself that because I brought in much of the income at the moment, think about that, at the moment, not continuously, because my wife had to step away from the insanity of her previous job. It was crazy, the shit that was going through, high turnover rate, long extended hours, long commutes, that she sacrificed higher pay for peace of mind and a fresh start. And that's necessary in life. Can't find happiness everywhere, especially when your husband's being an asshole. You just want peace. And that's simpler to find than happiness. I had falsely thought that at that moment, somehow, everything, fucking everything belonged to me. I had said, this is my house when she asked me that. And I said, everything is because of me. And I defended my position because financially, I believed that I was the only contributor. I was completely fucking wrong. And I completely forgot in that devastating moment everything my partner had contributed. Her total financial input and contributions. Helping me after I got released from my job in the islands and then lost my job with the insurance company because when they had cutbacks, how she covered my debts. She helped me get out of debt. She helped me with my medical bills. See, that's that part of that communication. In the moment, I defended my statement that everything, the house is mine, all of this. She didn't. She remembered when I was in my darkest days, medical bills had to get paid. When I went into refinancing to bring down my debit, she helped set that up, and she guided me. Because I was crash diving. I was devastated. I'd lost a job, been evicted from, a contracting position because of my deep vein thrombosis, my peripheral arterial disease, got choked up by it, and everything else. She didn't walk out on my broke ass and find another guy. She stood her ground and made sure that I was taken care of. I completely forgot about that moment. Because I got so defensive and I wanted to control the situation that I made stupid remarks. So, outside of her financial inputs and contributions herself, she's the one that found all the deals. When we wanted to pull, she negotiated. She negotiated prices. She stretched every dollar to make sure we could feed the kids, we could feed the animals, we took care of us. She made sure that we didn't sacrifice. I may have been putting money in, but she made sure it didn't run out. Because she would limit and say, don't spend anything this week. We got to take care of this. Yes, ma'am. Let's do it. She held everything together when I wasn't even paying attention. Because for a while I was in that woe is me. You know, when I lost my job with Keystone, it was sudden. I got in a panic mode. Couldn't go back to the island. You know, here I am in my late 50s. And don't fucking tell me employers look at age and don't consider that in most cases. But I was blessed. Evans stepped up, Evans General Contractors. I got to get back into work into a field I loved, and that helped. But it was my wife that saved me, and I forgot it in that moment in time. So, what I reflect on and what I remember now is a benefit of my wife taking a moment to tune me up. And by tuning me up, she didn't say, look at what I contributed. She didn't rebut that way. She sent me a message saying, plainly, not hatefully, not with any vindication, since this is your house that you paid for, we need to do this, we need to separate that, we need to get this and spread it between us, because she's the one that helped with it. And then we need to move your phone into your personal account, because she put all of our phones together in one account under Verizon to get us a family plan. Then with the vehicles, with the 401k that she cashed, she helped me to get the new vehicle. Again, one of the big things I fucking conveniently forgot when I was saying, this is my house. You know, and I drive that every single day. But when we got her car, she was thinking more about getting my next one. So, again, while she was holding everything together, I wasn't always paying attention. I may have brought home the sand, but my bride built the fucking castle I wrongly thought I lorded over and commanded. And in that moment, I forgot to protect the person I was building it with, my fucking queen. So as a reminder, for anybody young or anybody that's not been through this before, anger is funny. Not funny like laughter, funny but because of how quickly it changes us. 1 minute you're talking, you're holding a conversation, the next you're defending it, then you're keeping score, then you're saying shit you don't even believe, and anger just shrinks that time. So whether it's been 10, 15, 20 years together, suddenly it's just down to 20 seconds. And all the sacrifices, the memories, the victories, the struggles, everything disappears. And all you can see and focus on is that you're being right. Try to be right has destroyed a lot of relationships and has humbled many a man. So for those of you that know me, I've spent most of my adult life in safety, public safety, contracting. Do you know that we teach before making a dangerous decision where we're going to end up dead? Stop, think, assess, and respond. We don't just react. We got to actually look at what's going on and is it safe? I didn't do that when I was communicating with my wife. I didn't stop. I sure as shit didn't think. I didn't assess the emotions that I would create, and I sure as fuck didn't think about the response. I just reacted. So you might think to yourself, why don't we do this at home if we do it at work? Why do we give strangers at work more patient than we give people we love? Fucking HR. There is no HR at home, unless you're cussing in front of the kids and then your wife has to tune you up. Why do we perform hazard assessments around heavy equipment and industry, but never perform one on our own emotions before we talk to our family? Imagine if we did. What's the hazard? My anger. What's the risk? My relationship. What's the consequence? No relationship. Words cannot be taken back. What's the control? Just shut my mouth, take a breath, listen, understand, not respond, understand. And that's something for us all to think about. So I think that's where many of us get in trouble. Stress pushes us towards self-preservation. We start protecting ourselves instead of protecting our tribe. The tribe may be your spouse, your partner, boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, wife, and your family overall, whoever shares that life with you. When we become overwhelmed or allow trigger words to affect us, we stop asking, how do we solve this, and start asking, how do I win this? And that's fucked up. Those are two very different questions. So what I learned is love isn't keeping score. Love remembers contributions you didn't make. Love remembers sacrifices that never showed up on a bank statement. Love remembers who stayed, who encouraged, who negotiated, who planned, who worried, who believed in you, who tuned you up. Money buys lumber, money buys nails, money buys sand, but it doesn't build the castle. People do, together. If you're listening today and you've ever had one of these moments, you're not alone. Own it. Apologize to the individual and mean it. Take a moment to learn from it, like I did, like my wife reminded me gratefully. And again, she wasn't blasting me. She was saying, if this is true, then make this true as well. Stand up, own it, take control. Then do better tomorrow. Not because we are weak, but because our relationships matter than our pride. I thought I was protecting my castle. What I'd forgotten was I didn't build it alone. Take care of the people that help you build and hold on to yours. Thank you for spending a little time with me today. If this episode reminded you of someone, don't send it because you think they're wrong. Send it because you love them. As always, stay safe, stay bold, stay honest. But before we go, I want you to reflect on one little thing. When you check your compass in the direction you're heading, are you using your past and your present to find your way home and to go the path that you and I should go? That's something we need to think about. And Rhonda, honey, thank you for reminding me that it was never my castle. It was always ours. I love you, and I'm sorry that you have to keep rebuilding the moats when I have my redhead episodes. This is Allen Woffard. Thank you for listening. God bless you. Keep you. Be safe. Be loving. Communicate effectively. And live your life. God bless. Take care. Now get the fuck out of here. Enjoy the rest of your day. We'll see you next time.
Racing, my mind racing fast, facing down on the pavement now. I need something to numb the pain, empty bottles in the sink, 'cause I don't wanna feel a thing. I catch my breath, escape the pain. Why does it always end this way? I'm falling, and I can't help but run from the problems. I can run away from all these things in my life, feelings and anxiety buried deep inside.
Allen Woffard has produced this podcast for entertainment purposes. Neither this nor any other podcast he produced constitute legal, medical, marital, sexual, or professional advice. The opinions and views presented by Allen are his own and do not reflect the views or opinions of employers, clients, family, Facebook groupies, promotional sponsors, or baby Jesus. Any health information shared or mentioned as an alternative does not create any patient-physician relationship or other professional relationship between the audience and the presenters. No person listening to any podcast from this rocket surgeon should act or refrain from acting based on the content of a podcast without first seeking appropriate professional advice and or counseling, nor shall the information be used to substitute for professional advice and counseling. As stated earlier, this show is for entertainment purposes, not how to lead or change your life. Do what is best for you or what your spouse approves of. Allen Woffard and all guests of the show expressly disclaim all liability relating to any actions taken or not taken based on any and all contents of this site.